Last month, I recorded an episode called Just Don't Break the Chain. Now, go back and revisit it if you haven't listened to it, or if you have, revisit it again. We talk about the power in simply creating a chain of consistency in your business, in your health and fitness goals, in your relationships, in any area of your life. Now, as I mentioned, with nearly 25 years online and over 30 years owning my own business, that word consistency has consistently shown up in every aspect of my business. And everyone else with a success story who I've spoken with over the years when I've stopped people, met them at conferences, spoken on stage with them, whatever, and stopped them to ask them, what's your success secret? That word consistently has shown up over and over and over again. And I've spoken with hundreds, maybe even thousands of people over the decades. Now, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison, or what I like to call comparanoia. That's when we look at everyone else and their success and we begin to measure it against our own. Have you ever done that? I certainly have. What we seldom do, however, is really look and evaluate the backstory behind it to find out what their mindset was, what their thoughts and beliefs were. What were those limiting beliefs that they had to overcome that drove the actions that they took on a regular and consistent basis? In most cases, if you'll simply sit down and chat with anyone who has the type of success that you desire, and you ask them to get out their calendar, right? Get out their calendar, and they do, and they show you what's in the pages of it, and you look at it, you will most often find that it's full. It's full of success rendering actions and activities. Woven in between the lines, however, most often in those spaces that you and I can't see is the mindset work that they had to do on themselves. Their success doesn't mean that they were fearless all the time, that they never had self-doubt or wondered if they were doing the right thing, especially when those haters, shamers, and trolls, most often known as our family, friends, and those closest to us, say things like, oh, that'll never work. So-and-so tried that and they bombed. Get your heads out of the cloud, get your head out of the clouds, get a real job, whatever it is. They just refuse to allow that to change their goal. They simply allowed their desire to be more, do more, and have more to outweigh those fears of being good enough or whether or not they were doing the right thing. We often don't know if we're doing the right thing until we try a few things, we test a few things, and we go back and we measure those things. What is most important is that they allowed their future self-image, that $1 million image, to lead the way. Now, if you go back and listen to my $1 million self-image for success show, we get deep into what it really requires to create that and step into that on a daily basis. When I look back at my own successful times, as well as those times of struggle, I can very clearly see the starts and stops, the gaps in my consistency, where I actually broke my own consistency chain. This podcast, my YouTube channel, my blog. I was one of the pioneers in podcasting, especially in the solopreneur network marketing coaching space. I started my podcast in February of 2013. Yet when I look back, I can see gaps in my consistency. Now, not at the very start, I was extremely consistent and I never took off a full year. But as the years went on, I would see and take gaps, whether I was moving, different things going on in life. I allowed that to take precedence over my consistency chain of publishing my podcast, publishing to my YouTube channel, publishing to my blog. Now, when I started, I had a very consistent publishing schedule and my business was thriving. I went from my early days taking my business online in 1999 and having most people find me through online message forums or articles that I wrote and ultimately published on my website. That was before it was called a blog, to then ultimately social media and then launching a YouTube channel where that very quickly became 60% of my leads. And then once I launched my podcast, it took over and the biggest bulk of my leads came from that. So when I stopped and took breaks, business fell off. It makes sense, right? If you're not open for business, traffic can't get in. Have you ever had your favorite local coffee shop that you go to and maybe they take a week off for vacation and so you can't get to them that week, and so then you start going to the one down the street and then pretty soon you forget about the other one. Their business drops off. If a customer can't get in and clients can't find us, it puts a stop to our business. Okay. And I know this, and you know this too when you think about it, especially on the internet. To attract people, create that awareness, and attract all that we want, we've got to be there and show up. Now, fortunately for me, with nearly 25 years under my belt, I have lots of funnels and history and content where you can find me. There's well over 1,000 pieces of content out there between blog posts and podcasts and YouTube videos. And that doesn't even count social media, because I was extremely consistent for the first 15 years of my online phase of building my business. If you search network marketing coach or network marketing coach for women, you'll see I consistently have between 1 and 3 spots on the first page of Google under those categories. And that's from years of content and consistency with that content and that publishing schedule. So take a look at your own calendar and your own consistency. Dig deep within yourself and decide, what is it that you really want? Go back and review that $1 million self-image for success and create your own $1 million self-image. And then use that calendar to detail out exactly what you're going to do weekly, and I mean weekly, on a consistent basis. I've said before, we tend to overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 5 years. So if you've not really been doing anything in terms of creating content or getting yourself out there, instead of setting a goal to create 5 blog posts a week or 5 YouTube videos or 5 podcasts or anything beyond one piece of good, solid content on a weekly basis, it might be the danger zone for you, because that might lead you to start feeling overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, I'm going from 0 to 5 a week and I haven't even been, again, doing any. And when we feel overwhelmed, that can derail us from our consistency chain. Now, that doesn't include social media. Social media is its own beast. It's not really content that you own. I'm talking about content that you can put out there that gets indexed by Google, that allows people to find you day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. With social media, we have to be out there consistently because it's a right now concept. Now, Facebook, lately, they've been going back and showing me stuff from 5 days ago, but very seldom do they go back 2 weeks or maybe last year with a really killer piece of content, unless somebody comments on it. Now, if you'd like some help on your journey, I'd love to be your co-pilot. Start with my killercontentformula.com 3-day challenge and learn some of the skills to pay the bills. And let's get you into creating that consistency chain. killercontentformula.com. I'm Jackie Almer, streetsmartwealth.com.